I want to share some personal numbers with you this morning. 32, 55, and 306,000. 32 is how long I will have been married next month. 4 different women, 8 years each, but it was consecutive. 55 is how old I'm going to be next month. I'm really excited because I get to cross off my to-do list qualifying for the Shoppers Drug Mart seniors discount. People keep asking me, Harry, 55, that's wild. Like, that's old. Like, remember Freedom 55? Like, how do you feel about turning 55? I said, well, it's better than not turning 55, like ever. 306,000. Now, there's something that we all have in common in this room. That's an account we all have. See, if I'm lucky enough to make it to age 90, 306,000 is the number of hours that I have left on this planet. It's my constant reminder of how fragile and temporary life is. You know, money is replaceable. Money we can get more of. But all of the money in the world couldn't buy anybody in this room an extra 60 seconds of time. 1 death per lifetime per individual. See, the truth is, folks, I'm dying. Cause? Mortality. Oh, Harry, that's so depressing. Who picked this first speaker? But how can you live like that, Harry James? Exactly. Live. See, there's a big difference between living and existing. This bank account is my constant reminder that I don't have an unlimited amount of time. Therefore, I don't get caught up in fluffing stuff. I don't spend my time on things that are not meaningful. I devote my time to things that give me richness in my life. And it also ensures that I don't become one of those individuals that ends up getting buried 30 years after I stop living. Well, Harry, what qualifies you to pontificate about this philosophy from up on high? Frankly, absolutely nothing. You're all free to go. I mean, the reality is I have 4 children. And as a father, I think I have a responsibility to those 4 kids to speak into their lives, maybe give them some advice or some perspective and some guardrails so they can enjoy the journey just as much as I have. So I guess in some ways I'm kind of hijacking the TED Talk today to capsulize my philosophy for my 4 children and my future grandchildren. Is that okay with you guys? So here it is. I'm an entrepreneur, which I understand is French for unemployed. As a result of doing some decent things in business, I built some value and attracted the attention of some of my peers. So I got asked to speak at conferences across the country. And as I spoke to these people across the country, invariably I'd weave my life philosophy into the talk. I mean, at the end of the day, I wanted to be authentic. And what was interesting is the end of the talk, these folks would come up to me and they were less interested in how I built a business and more interested in how I built a life. See, the reality is, folks, I have people in my office every day in their 50s that didn't become the rock stars that they wanted to be, that don't have the relationships they were hoping for, and don't have the type of health and vitality they were hoping for. They feel like losers. Their self-esteem and their self-worth is imploded. You know, I often wonder, is that because maybe they've wrapped their value around emblems and titles and status? What do we do with our children all the time? What do we ask them? What are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? They already be the moment they're born. They're already valuable and have huge potential the moment they're born. The question should be, what are you going to do when you grow up? I mean, I am willing to bet that the mental health profession is kept very busy by people that confuse what they do with who they are. My little philosophy wraps around 3 key things: vision, vital signs, and vehicle. As I think about my life, I want you to think about it from this perspective. If you're building a house, you'd have an architect and you want to decide how many bedrooms you're going to have, what neighborhoods are going to be in. Is it going to be in the country or in the city? You're going to have a theater room. You're going to build this house so you'll enjoy living in it. See, to me, the vision is that being the architect of your life. So I want you to imagine with me, if you will, a beautiful summer meadow. It's a gorgeous day and the wind is blowing. It's about 75 degrees. And in this meadow, there's this huge, huge hot air balloon. It's majestic. It's 20 meters in the air. And it's got all the colors of the rainbow. Just magnificent to look at. See, to me, that's my vision for my life. That's my lifestyle. My experiences, my relationships, love and charity and travel and arts and all the things that bring richness to our life and the stuff that gives us butterflies when we think about going through our journey. You have to cast the vision for your life. Be the architect of your life so that you live your definition of success. See, attached to that balloon is a little basket, little brown basket. And that's the vehicle by which you travel. But what the basket actually is your job. Whether you're the butcher, the baker, or the candlestick maker. It's just simply a means by which to fund the journey. We live in a society that requires something called money. Therefore, this job creates the money to fund that beautiful vision you have for your life. Now, attached to this basket are 4 chains. And attached to the chains are 4 large weights. I refer to those as vital signs. Those weights are holding down this balloon from taking it to the heights that it's capable of. One of them is marked with an R for relationships. One is marked with an S for spirituality. One is marked with a P for physical. And one is marked with a dollar sign. Let's talk about the relationships for a moment, because I believe if we address these 4 key areas of our lives on a regular basis in a meaningful way, it breaks the chains and allows us to take our lives wherever we want to go. So we'll start with relationships. You must love unconditionally the person in the mirror. Forgive unconditionally the person in the mirror. Secondly, you have to be careful with our other relationships that fall into 3 categories. There's those relationships that fuel us, make us want to really soar, make us feel better about ourselves. There's neutral relationships. I'll say to my little girl, those are the ones that are kind of like on Facebook, acquaintances, 10,000 friends. I can barely handle the 3 I've got. Superficial relationships that don't go through so deep. But then there's something I always want you to be aware of, folks, and this is critical, toxic relationships. Those are the things that make us feel horrible about ourselves, bring us down, get us to second guess, don't allow us to pursue our passion. They don't fuel us, they detract from who we are as human beings. As a matter of fact, I would argue pretty strongly that guilt and anger and jealousy, if you could put it in pill form, would be just as potent as arsenic. You need to distance yourself in your life from toxic relationships because it will definitely hold you back from where you want to go. Spirituality, I often like to think of that as meaning. A life without meaning can be somewhat confusing. And inevitably, we go through storms in our life. And I believe by having a philosophy, a belief, something that that answers the question, what are we doing here? What does it all mean? See, that gives us the ability to anchor when we're going through those storms. And if you're human, you're going through a storm at some point. I question whether or not to share this today, but in the spirit of being vulnerable, in the spirit of being authentic, when I announced 2 weeks ago to the TEDx team that I was speaking today, I announced that I was going to be a grandfather for the first time, and I'm so excited. But last Friday, my daughter lost the baby. And it's been very tough. There's an old saying, and it's so true. You're about as happy as your saddest child. And it's been very tough. As a matter of fact, she was supposed to be here today, but she's still dealing with the physical elements of what she's gone through. Now, we've anchored, and we're there for each other, and we have our faith, and it's seeing us through, and we know the future is bright. But that's the reality, and I know each and every one of you today have a similar story. The other thing I believe with spirituality and meaning is this. We have to do more things that outlive us. If you imagine a black pond still in a forest, and a little pebble breaks through from the sky, and it creates a ripple. The amount of time that pebble's on the surface of the water, that represents how long your brevity of time on this planet. When it goes through, you create a ripple. I believe if you're narcissistic, materialistic, focused on yourself and consuming, the impact on that water is very small. But I believe if you invest in love and relationships and charity, in trying to make the society a better place, that impact is huge to the point where it's almost a wave. And that's the way that I want my children to live their lives. The next one is physical, the next weight, the next chain. You know, these guys wrote a book called Younger Next Year, written by a young doctor and an older businessman. And they made the case that physiologically the human body doesn't understand aging, it just understands whether it's needed or not. In other words, you can be as healthy and vibrant in your 80s as you are in your 40s as long as you challenge your body physically and mentally every day so it regenerates. And by the way, going for a walk at night is not exercise, that's called functioning. Physically, I love aging. I embrace aging. Aging is good. If you're not aging, it's not good. See, I think what we struggle with more is decline. And decline is something that we can do something about if we take care of our bodies, if we eat right, if we exercise, if we put things in perspective and pay ourselves first physically every day. Because the truth is, folks, our greatest asset is our health and our vitality. We're better parents, we're better business people, we think clear, we operate better, and we enjoy the journey that much more. We have to take care of our best asset. And now the biggie, finances. The financial journey. You know, they say the best things in life are free. But the truth of the matter is, if your financial house is not in order, it robs you of enjoying everything that's important to you. See, if you're physically in the backyard with your children playing a game, but you're mentally trying to figure out how to pay off your MasterCard, I'll tell you right now, you're missing the moment. It's being stolen from you. I want to tell you something, folks. We are born with a discontentment gene. It's the reason that we don't live in grass huts. But the marketers know that too. And they don't spend billions on advertising because it doesn't work. The truth of the matter is, you're not driving the right car, and you're not living in the right house, and you're not wearing the right clothes. Clearly. It's a good thing the fashion police aren't here. But it gets us in that that consumption mode, where we always think the next purchase is going to make us happy, or the next purchase is going to be where we are when we arrive. Material things do not legitimize who we are. That's one of the big problems. Again, this going back to what we do. What we do does not reflect our value as human beings. What my kids do for a living doesn't diminish nor detract from who they are as human beings. We're living our lives upside down, and it has to stop. One more thought before I go. I understand in other cultures that there's lots of people that sit at the feet of elders, and they drink in all their wisdom, and they listen because elders are revered. They've gone down that road. They have the experience. And the kids drink it in so they don't make the same mistakes and so they can learn. In North America, not so much, huh? Elders are seniors kind of marginalize them, brush them aside, look through them. Not always, but sometimes. And now that I'm a senior, I'd like to lead the charge to change that. Anybody over 55 with me? Amazing study was done in North America of seniors just in their last days. If you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently? A massive study. This just wasn't done on the back of a napkin. Number one answer, I would have lived a more authentic life true to who I am. Number one answer. I wish I wasn't so concerned about what people thought. I wish I went with my definition of success. Secondly, I wish I took more risks. In other words, I regret the things I didn't do, not the things I did do. And third, and certainly not least, I wish I had maintained meaningful relationships with friends and family that fueled my soul. I wish I didn't let things go. I wish I would have put more effort in. So may I take this opportunity today to send a message to my kids and my future grandkids, and maybe you folks could benefit too. Some closing advice. Kids, please live a life that's authentic, true to who you are. Be the author of your definition of success. Secondly, invest in meaningful relationships. Maintain them. Let them fuel your soul. And third, no matter what you do, please don't go through life in a rocking chair with a seatbelt on. Thank you very much.